Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live back in studio at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson backs out of a debate with Bruce Harrell over Jimmy Kimmel. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I want to start off by saying this. If there's a story you specifically want me to cover that I didn't cover in the last 2 days because I was out of town for the Jewish New Year, text it on over to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I've been absolutely inundated with stories that people want to cover, but Mike did a great job finding all this good stuff for us.
Yeah, I was like, do you need more news? Mike's not doing his job. Send me more stuff.
That is not what it is at all.
If only there were some news for me to cover. Please text me some news, because I don't got no news.
Mike has done such a thorough job. He has covered not just national, local, international, but also pop culture and sports. Mike did such a thorough job. So I will say it would be rare that you would find something that isn't in all the stuff Mike sent me, but just in case.
Sure.
Just in case.
Also, I don't got nothing, so text me stuff. Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Good to be back.
I enjoyed 2 days of low blood pressure. That's over now. Back to yelling and banging on counters and throwing stuff.
That's over.
Cool.
Over the first 10 seconds of the show. Well done, Hoffman.
Send me stuff. Get out of here.
Switching gears back to the big story of the day, authorities today gave an update on the shooting that occurred at a Dallas ICE facility yesterday, which saw the death of one detainee and two others injured by suspected gunman Joshua John, who killed himself at the scene. Authorities revealed that John used an ICE tracking apps and left behind writings that detailed his plannings for the shooting. Now, when I saw ICE tracking apps, I said to myself, isn't that something that CNN was promoting? That other left-wing media outlets were promoting, that activists here in Seattle are promoting? And I did some Googling, and guess what? Yeah, they all had articles talking about how to do this. Yes, this is how you dox ICE agents. This is how you stalk ICE agents. This is how you follow ICE agents. Democrat politicians saying, if you see them, report them. Mike, do you remember it was like the first 2 weeks of the Trump administration? People kept taking pictures of official-looking vehicles and sending them in. Look what I found! ICE is in the neighborhood! And it was like TSA, or it was Uber, or it was whatever it was. But they were doing this? Yeah, these things have consequences, guys. And I love that when I came back online last night, after 48 hours off the grid, I saw some of the left-wing media outlets were saying, we don't know what his motivation could have been. Literally on the shell casings, he wrote anti-ICE, among many other things. Gee, what do you think his motivation was? Oh, he sounds like a conservative. That must be it. He's a huge MAGA supporter because he wrote anti-ICE on the shell casings. Babylon Bee had a great headline. It said that they're going to be making bigger shell casings so they can write their entire manifesto on the shell casings, just in case anti-ICE isn't clear enough. Something else we found out at this presser. The left is always trying to paint ICE agents as if they're the devil incarnate, right? Well, it turns out these ICE agents were sacrificing themselves, throwing themselves in the line of the shooting so that they could protect the detainees. In fact, this guy was such a terrible shot, he managed to shoot the detainees as opposed to the ICE agents. So what exactly did this guy accomplish? You know what he accomplished? I even heard every single media outlet at the top of the hour. What were they talking about? That he was anti-ICE, that he was anti-immigration efforts. This is insane, absolutely insane. FBI Director Kash Patel announced that the suspect had searched for Charlie Kirk shot video and ballistics information in the days leading up to the attack. They also discovered he had downloaded a document titled Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management with listed DHS facilities. He allegedly searched apps tracking the presence of ICE agents. One handwritten note recovered at the scene said, hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof? Why do you think he was looking up the Charlie Kirk thing, by the way? Sniper, roof, getting tips, getting pointers. It's horrifying, absolutely horrifying. This is where we're in. And yet, I love how the media and Democrats keep saying, no, this isn't a left-wing problem, it's a right-wing problem. Yeah, let's roll the tape.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified. This is not the 1930s.
Secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people. These Gestapo-like tactics.
This is Gestapo-like behavior.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
When you compare the old films of the Gestapo grabbing people off the streets of Poland, it does look like a Gestapo operation.
You posted on social media that, quote, ICE is acting like a terrorist force.
ICE agents, they are coming and kidnapping and disappearing people on the streets of the United States.
But this terror campaign of having masked people rolling up in vans, but we also have to talk about the agents themselves that are carrying this out. If you have any decency, quit now. Because just doing what you were told has been the justification for some of the worst horrors and crimes against humanity.
I love that in that you heard Pramila Jayapal, our very own Democrat from here in Washington, spokesperson for Hamas. I love that you heard her in that little mix. And when I saw that montage circulating online and I saw her mug pop up on the screen, I said, wait a minute. Didn't she say something like this back in April? Wasn't she organizing people to go out and be street ready, strike ready, the resistance? I seem to remember she was having these resistance flyers about training people for the resistance. Yeah, found that audio.
We might call this getting strike ready. I think of it as getting us strike ready or street ready. And part of that is understanding our own strength. And as we develop that strength, being able to assess our risk tolerance, because we know that risk tolerance increases as the severity of the situation increases and as our own understanding of what's happening increases. So overall, the more we understand what's effective, what the risks are, and who's ready to participate, the more impact we can have.
Strike ready, street ready. What do you think she was talking about there? It's like when we found out Jay Inslee was planning strike teams to take people to COVID camps. And then what happened as soon as we found out, no, that's not what the word strike means. No, that's just like for an event, like the strike crew, the cleanup crew. Mike, we did a lot of time at the Puyallup Fair. Did they ever call you guys the strike crew that was going to clean up the booths and things like that? No, we know very, very clearly what they mean by this. By the way, Pramila Jayapal got busted sharing fake news the other day and has not issued a correction. NBC even issued a correction, but Pramila Jayapal hasn't. Ready? Here's what it is. This is what she wrote on Twitter. And I love that there is a massive, massive fact check on this thing. ICE agents grabbed a 5-year-old girl outside her home and held her, screaming, to coerce her father, who had been in the U.S. for 22 years, to be detained. This is cruel, disgusting, and must end. Trump is tearing families apart. NBC got this one very, very, very wrong. They made it seem like ICE is holding the little girl out there with a gun to her head saying, come out or we're going to kill the little girl. That's what they made it seem like, right? Right? Cry so your father comes out. More tears. No, you know what it actually was? The father, the upstanding citizen that he is as an illegal alien criminal with quite the rap sheet, by the way, saw ICE was after him, had the kid in the car, ditched the car, left the kid, the 5-year-old, in the car, ran into the house while flipping the ICE agents the Hawaiian good luck sign, while running into the house, leaving his daughter in the vehicle. So the ICE agents went to take care of the crying child. But Yeah, they're the bad guys. I have this discussion with people on the left all the time. Do you see what ICE is doing? I said, yep. Did you vote for this? Yep. Well, do you know about that? And I give them the actual facts. Oh, well, do you know about this? And then I give them the actual facts. When you guys find an actual thing that they did wrong, please bring it to me. Please bring it to me. So far, you guys owe for 11,000 because every single one of these, ICE did this. Look what they did. They're completely full of it. And meanwhile, they're doing all this to protect people. To protect who? Let's see the kind of people they're protecting, shall we? Because a lot of cases we're finding out here in Washington itself. This is one of the most graphic ones we have seen, where apparently a man has now been, or pleaded guilty, a Mexican illegal alien, a Mexican national living illegally here in Washington state, has pleaded guilty to the cold-blooded murder of a man, his pregnant wife, and their unborn child in a gruesome crime tied to cross-border drug trafficking. Remember that this is who Pramila Jayapal wants to keep in the U.S. This is who Nick Brown wants to keep in the U.S. This is who Bob Ferguson wants to keep in the U.S. According to the Department of Justice and the DEA, on September 22nd, 2025, 22-year-old Benjamin Madril Burreta, a Mexican national in the U.S. illegally and residing in Yakima, Washington, admitted in federal court that he executed 44-year-old Cesar Morello on August 28, 2022, during a dispute over a drug debt. Prosecutors said he shot Morello multiple times in the head and the torso and then ordered his body be buried at a ranch outside of Yakima. Days later, he lured Morello's visibly pregnant wife, that's their words, 33-year-old Maria Hernandez, to the same ranch. Unaware that her husband was already dead, Hernandez went with him only to be murdered execution style by Beretta's co-conspirators. Her unborn child also died in the attack. Both victims were buried near the property. The case began in 2021 when Homeland Security investigations seized narcotics at the San Diego border crossings. Investigators eventually traced the drugs to Madrigal Beretta's network in Yakima. Court filings show Morello and Hernandez have been interviewed by federal agents just days before their murders. After an exhaustive search effort involving radar, cadaver dogs, and forensic testing, HSI agents recovered the couple's remains on September 13, 2023. Authorities also seized firearms, body armor, and drugs tied to the criminal enterprise. According to HSI San Diego Special Agent in Charge Sean Gibson, this case underscores the commitment of HSI to pursue violent criminals who threaten our communities across state lines. Through the relentless work of our agents and our critical support of HSI Seattle, HSI Fresno, and our federal and local law enforcement partners, we're able to bring closure to a brutal crime and hold those responsible accountable. He's going to be sentenced down the road in March, but he faces a lengthy prison term. They also have other guys who are being charged as accessories. This is who they want to keep in the country. This is who they are calling ICE agents Nazis for deporting. By the way, J.D. Vance, during his remarks yesterday, called out the Democrats for their rhetoric.
We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we got to do it.
He is right, by the way. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you tell everybody that the opposition are just a bunch of Nazis, everybody's got that fantasy. What would I have done during World War II? Oh, I would have saved people. I would have protected people. I would have killed Hitler. It was even a deleted scene from the Deadpool movie, where Deadpool goes back in time in the second movie to kill baby Hitler. Now the question, would you kill baby Hitler? Would you not? Right? Everybody's had these discussions before. If you are convinced enough, impressionable young minds, that the other side are all a bunch of Nazis and deserve to die, are you surprised when things like this happen? Mike knows this too well. When people call with the Nazi comparisons on our side, I shut that down because I do not like them at all. No matter how much you dislike Republicans, nobody is going to gas chambers. Nobody is going to work camps. Stop that right now. And for the people on the right, no matter how much you don't like Democrats, don't compare them to Nazis. The only one you get to compare to a Nazi is George Soros, who actually worked with the Nazis. He's the only one. Aside from that, no Nazi comparisons.
We ran into this a lot during COVID. It'd be like, Jay Inslee is literally a Nazi. First of all, you're using the word literally incorrectly. But yeah, I've even in my personal life, Ari, I've developed a real twitch about that I did not have before working on this show. Because like I see it in a way that I didn't earlier.
Right.
Because it's so easy, like when you're coming up with that kind of comparison, it's easy to throw out, but you don't really think it all the way through. And furthermore, that diminishes the true evil that these actual evil people actually did, as opposed to just preventing me from going to the movies.
Right, exactly.
You're confusing inconvenience with oppression.
Exactly. You know, here, let me give you something practical. I just thought of this. They're planning a trip for my son who's in Israel right now. They're going to go check out the concentration camps on a field trip with the school. That's a pretty heavy field trip, by the way. They're going to spend a couple days in Poland, and they're going to go see everything. Guys, you have no idea what you are saying when you compare somebody to Nazis. I believe one of the death camps they're going to is Majdanek. Majdanek looks like it could be turned on tomorrow and just run again, where you literally have bodies being cremated and taken out of the ovens, and it's smack dab in the middle of town. Everybody knew what was going on. Can we all stop with the Nazi comparisons? Please, can we stop with that? Now, mind you, there is some humor in all this, by the way. The White House put out a video, and the video was Gotta Catch 'Em All, and it had this music about ICE agents rounding up illegals.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. I will travel.
Now, if you have kids of a certain age, or maybe you're a kid of a certain age, you might recognize that song as the theme song from Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. I like when we actually did that with Jonathan Cho. When Cho was running around the UW campus, and he had the Antifa guys racing after him, and Zach made that little video. Apparently, Pokemon, the company, is now saying it had nothing to do with that video whatsoever. I think it was, Mike, was it you who said copyright infringement is not the best strength of this?
Yeah, well, it's funny because, like, even going back to the first administration, the Trump administration, or the government with Donald Trump under control, has always used like copyrighted material. Remember, like he did like a campaign video using like the Dark Knight theme.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers is like, you can't use that.
Right, that's ours. You don't get to do that.
I mean, I guess when you're the president, you get to do what you want, including violating copyright law, question mark. I guess that's for someone else to litigate.
I will say something about this, though. If you're trying to turn down the rhetoric, just to give a little ding to our own side for a second here, guys. If you're telling everybody to tamp down the rhetoric, you can't put out videos like that. I know they're funny. I know they're entertaining. I laughed. I laughed a lot. And I laughed more when I saw the story that Pokemon is mad about copyright infringement. But at the same time, if you're talking about turning down the rhetoric, you can't put out things like that.
Zach said it perfectly when we were hanging out in the bullpen earlier. He's like, you can't say don't go after ICE agents or, can't go after law enforcement, but then also put out silly videos like this. The immigration crisis is either a serious issue or it isn't. The more and more videos that the administration puts out, while funny, and again, we're having a really good laugh at it, but that also diminishes the seriousness of the crisis at the border.
I completely agree. I saw an awful video today where yet another illegal alien trucker who can't speak English was driving at full speed on a highway, I think it was the East Coast, and wasn't paying attention at all and sandwiched a car, a sedan, between him and another semi-trailer. Those people are dead instantly. Instantly. This is very, very serious stuff. Look, you want to make the videos about the auto pen being in place of Joe Biden's picture on the wall? Funny, entertaining. But at the same time, this is very, very serious what's going on with ICE. And if you're talking about turning down the rhetoric, you can't put out things like that. Robert in Tumwater says over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, please He says, excuse me, people forget that ICE wouldn't have to go into neighborhoods as much if the sanctuary governments would let them have access to the jails. Exactly right, Robert. Exactly right. So when Pramila Jayapal shares a thing of, oh, the 5-year-old girl, whatever, none of that would have happened if the illegal alien criminal was just turned over to the authorities. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, looks like Seattle Democrats finally agree that walls and fences do work because they're installing them all over downtown Seattle. I'll tell you why when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Mike did such a thorough job finding material while I was out of town, he even got weather forecasts. That's right, the last 7 p.m. sunset of 2025 is going to be tonight. And then after that, guess what? It's going to be that thing where you're driving home at 5 o'clock and all of a sudden it's dark outside. And you said, when did this happen? And then seasonal depression. And then you got to take your vitamin D. And all that came way too quick. It feels like the summer just blew by, didn't it, Mike? This was really fast.
I have a totally different take, and this might be a little controversial to folks that like longer summer times, but like, what was the caption I put on that story when I sent you? I'm like, good, because it should be dark at nighttime. I like it when it's dark at nighttime, so I can sleep at nighttime.
So I will...
That one's for Rob, by the way.
I will say.
And John also.
I will say is that for me, the sweet spot is the 7 o'clock. I like the 7 to 8 range.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. When you start getting earlier than that, that's when I start going, why is it dark so early? Especially when you get in that 5 o'clock range and it's pitch black when I'm driving home after the show. I don't like that at all. It's like the people around here who are Seattle natives, Washington natives, who say, I'm so happy the rain's back. And I say, why? It's so nice here during the summer. Why would you want that back? I don't say in New York, oh, thank God it's cold and snow and windy again. Whatever. But just in time for the dark times. All of a sudden, according to King 5, chain link fences are now blocking several alleys in downtown Seattle. Seattle officials respond to complaints about crime, including open-air drug use and alley fires. Mike, this will solve everything. We're going to put up fences around Seattle. Because, wait, time out. I thought you guys said fences and walls don't work. Now they're putting up fences all over the place? Well, actually, here in Seattle, they don't seem to work because they never actually clear the problem. See, you have to build the wall and then you have to get rid of the problem, like get rid of the illegal alien criminals. Around Seattle, they don't clear the homeless encampments, so you just keep having more and more problems. You can build all the fences you want, and you're still going to have problems. For example, out the Jewish cemeteries where we used to have all the problems with the homeless all the time, we spent a lot of money on fencing the first week. Somebody tried to break into the new fencing. You got to deal with the problem on the ground in addition to that. The fences installed at the request of the Seattle Police Department, Seattle Department of Transportation, are legal under city code, according to King 5, which allows officials to restrict access to alleys based on criminal activity, unsafe structures, or health hazards. So why didn't Bruce Harrell do this the past 4 years? Oh, wait a minute. You know what's going on right now? Bruce Harrell saw the election results, and he got all upset because of the election results. It looks like Katie Wilson's going to win. So what does he do? He says, wait a second, I lost all my support from the moderates and the right. I got to get back my support from the moderates and the right. What can I do? Let's put up some fences. They won't do anything, but we'll put up the fences. It'll look like I'm doing something. He spent so much time trying to be Katie Wilson, he became Katie Wilson. He didn't do anything at all about the homeless problem, didn't do anything at all about law enforcement. He lived long enough to see himself become the villain. Not that he was ever the hero, so I'm not giving him the first part of that
You were
quote.
supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. You've become the thing you swore to destroy.
Yeah, but let's be real. Bruce Harrell doesn't. He's not a follow-through kind of guy, is he? No, definitely not. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our frenemy, Bennett, the protester. Bennett, I missed you, man. How you doing?
Oh, I didn't know Bruce Harrell was into the Dark Knight references. I ran into him in the City Hall lobby. I should have gone, do you feel in charge? He's not.
Oh, Bennett, you win. Quote of the day from a listener. Very, very good. What's going on, man? What's on your mind today?
Well, no, I hadn't planned to mention it, but I have to give Bruce Harrell credit because he didn't know who I was. He stopped and talked to me for quite a bit. We were talking about the surveillance resolution they just passed in the city council, but it was more impressed that he was willing to take, it must have been 5 or 7 minutes to talk to me at all. Because, I've tried to approach Ann Davison a million times, and lately so have you, and just, I'll see her in the lobby and I'll ask her, do you want to follow up and acknowledge publicly the statements about the judge are wrong? Admittedly, it's a much harsher question that I'm asking her.
Well, I'll say this also, is that Bruce Harrell's a schmoozer. For anything else I don't like about the guy, he is a schmoozer, and that's why so many people are convinced he's so good, because he's a good schmoozer. He's not actually good at doing anything, but he's a good schmoozer.
All right. Well, I just wanted to publicly give him points that he stopped and talked to me. So if somebody in his office is listening, you can tell him that was a good investment of his time. But I know that you're probably so I missed the beginning part of the show. I don't know if you know that the X streaming part of the
we
service
fixed it. We fixed it. It is back up. Right, it was an X problem. X didn't give it to us. We had to fix it. So yes, it's up and running now.
Okay, it was on Jewish New Year a little bit longer, but it's back now. That's good.
Bennett, you're killing it today. All right, what's on your mind, man? Get to it today.
All right. Well, I assumed that you were going to be talking about the ICE shooting, so I mentioned the X because I don't know if you covered it in the first 20 minutes or not. But I just wanted to urge people to keep in mind this kind of thing is not a valid underlying reason to switch your political beliefs, because I see a lot of this in the wake of the attempted Trump assassination. I mean, the online polls saying people were switching over to support him, and it's like you should not choose to support. You should not change what you believe on the underlying merits based on the fact that something like this has happened. Don't throw more support behind Trump just because he was almost shot.
Well, Bennett, let me push back on this a little bit from an angle you're not going to expect. Do you ever get garbage from people on your side when you say you go on the Ari Hoffman show?
I'm not sure. I have not actually talked to them about it. I'm sure if they know that I do, they would give me crap about it.
All right, so stop.
I have my defense all lined up. I'll just tell them I never call for any reason except to say that you're wrong.
Right.
So, I mean, that's.
But
what
hang on
say.
a second here. Isn't it crazy that you would get flack for even coming on my show, even though every single day you call to disagree with me about something? Isn't that insane? And I think the bigger problem that here is, and I said this on, what was it, Monday? I lost track of days because of the Jewish New Year. I said, it's not right versus left anymore. It's common sense versus crazy. That's what it is now. And Bennett, I have learned to get along with you and like you and have conversations with you. And it took me some time because I was really spun up. I don't think you were. And I'm giving you full credit in that regard. And I've tried to be a lot better about this. But I think that for me, I like having the conversations with you even when we disagree. But there's so many people on the left who would demonize you for having those conversations. And I think it's insane that that's where we're at. Meanwhile, on the right, you know what happens on the text line when you call? In fact, it's probably happening right now. I just haven't looked at it yet. What's probably happening is, Bennett the protester again, or Bennett's wrong, or whatever. But they don't get mad at you. You understand the distinction?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. And I've always said, I wish you'd read some of those to me just before I go sometime. And I understand that they're mean, but maybe some of them are funny. You can dig through them and see if you can find a good one.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're not always mean. Sometimes they're just like, he doesn't know what he's talking about because blah, 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 blah. That's what they usually are. They don't attack you personally, but I find so often on the left, they just want to do the personal attacks, but it's not even the left anymore. It's these far fringe extremists because you're the left. There's something past you, though, Bennett, right?
Oh, I think you're saying. I mean, it's like you're saying. I agree too. It's common sense versus crazy. But as a progressive, I would define common sense differently. I still think there is utterly no point in ICE chasing down people who all they did was cross the border. But once they're here, they're just trying to make a living and provide for their family. And they love America more than, 75% of the people that I run into at protests. I bet quite a few Republicans would get along great with these people.
I just want to emphasize that point there. The people you run into at protests. Bennett, I wish we could continue this conversation all day. I got to go to a break, though. Appreciate the call. Good to hear your voice again. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, this government shutdown, the Democrats want it so bad, they can taste it. And they have marketing for it already. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So it looks like we're headed towards another government shutdown. And something's
Another
fascinating.
one.
Exactly. Something's fascinating about this one. The Democrats want the shutdown. They think Republicans are going to be blamed for it because Republicans are always blamed for shutdowns. Because what the American people say, usually in the polls, they think to themselves, what happened here is you have Republicans who are fiscally responsible and Democrats are fiscally irresponsible. But of course, there's going to be ways. Just reopen the government. You're arguing over pennies. Pennies. You're arguing over that, right? That's what it is. And usually Republicans lose these in the polls. The Democrats want it so bad they can taste it. In fact, they want it so bad they have marketing for it. Over on Pramila Jayapal, wow, she's like a star of the show today. Over on Pramila Jayapal's X account, she's got this done-up graphic in black and white, which has Trump and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson at the bottom. And in red, it says 6 days until the Republican shutdown. There's one little problem here. Republicans have passed a clean continuing resolution. What's a continuing resolution? It means basically we're going to fund the government at the same levels for X amount of time so we can work on a balanced budget. They haven't been working on a balanced budget for X amount of years, but that's what a continuing resolution is. So the Democrats are trying to paint this as it's all the Republicans' fault. One little teensy tiny problem here. The House voted on this. The Senate are the ones blocking this, with a couple of Republican friends helping them out, and it's all the Democrat votes that are doing it. So who's actually about to cause the shutdown? They're the ones that claim they care so much about the government employees and about you not getting your Social Security checks or health care or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's the Democrats who are pushing forward with this. Why? They are so desperate for something to pull them out of the gutter of the ratings. So desperate of the polling. That is just, they're on the wrong side of every issue. They think this might do it. I saw a graph on social media, and it has every month of every year that Trump has been president. So from 2021 to from 2017 to 2020, and then once again now it's got his terms, and it goes, we think we got him this time. We think we got him this time. We think we got him next time, next to each one. And right now, in September of 2025, it's got you are here. Because they think this is where they got him. I don't think this is going to go the way the Democrats want. I think right now everybody kind of knows it's the Democrats' fault. And as much as they say Republican shutdown, Republican shutdown, Republican shutdown, that's not really working for them. In fact, President Trump was calling out the Democrats for what exactly they want out of this. And once again, it's 80-20 issues.
Is there going to be a government shutdown?
Could be, yeah, because the Democrats are crazed. They don't know what they're doing. They want to have the border opened up so that criminals can pour in. You know, we're doing unbelievable borders closed and people are coming into our country legally. They continue to want to have men and women sports. They continue to want to have transgender for everyone. They want to raise everybody's taxes at a number that's not sustainable. It's the only time in the world I've ever seen a party that wants to raise taxes. You know, I grew up in a family where I'd watch politics, and I always liked it from the time I was very young, but I'd always see politicians say, we will lower your taxes. These guys, they campaign on raising your taxes, but they want to raise taxes very substantially.
The one thing they're concerned about, I mean, look, Republicans have total control of Washington. You guys have control of the House, the Senate, there's you.
Well, when you say control, so we need 60 votes for this, and we have 53 Republicans, so we need 7 Democrats.
And those 7 Democrats and others are asking for an extension of a tax credit on people who get the Affordable Care Act and some other government-backed health care. So are you willing to negotiate on
what
that
they're
issue?
really asking for is they want to pay for illegal aliens that have come into our country by the millions and get onto the rolls, and they want to pay. And our people don't want to do that. Our people are taxed enough.
Exactly. What they are fighting for is health care for illegal aliens. They're not fighting for health care for you and me. Anytime they get mad about Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, they're mad that people are getting kicked off who shouldn't have been there in the first place. If the Republicans play their cards right and keep hammering that, banging that drum, as they say, then they will win the argument, and the Democrats will go down even farther in the polls, especially off today's economic news. The economic news today shows the economy is starting to boom, and that's not coming from the White House. It's from CNBC. It's from MSNBC. Maybe soon I'll feel it in my bank account. But at least that's what they're saying over according to the numbers. I'm kind of hoping that's actually the trend that's going to continue. And now that interest rates are going down, more people buy cars and more people buy houses. I hope that's what we're about to see. And if that's the case, the Democrats lose this fight. They absolutely lose this fight. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's coming off as Republicans' faults or Democrats' faults? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, Katie Wilson, the Socialist Mayoral candidate, is saying she's not going to debate Bruce Harrell until Jimmy Kimmel gets his show back on air on Sinclair. Wait, what? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Guys, breaking news. We have proof of life of Maria Cantwell. Senator Maria Cantwell is alive. She usually only comes out when it's time for advertisers to pressure Como. So that's a false headline right there. Seems like the advertisers go, as long as people are watching, we don't care. As long as they're buying our products, we don't care. But hang on, I want to make sure I got this. So you didn't come out during any of the Antifa stuff, during any of the Summer of Love stuff. You didn't come out during any of the Hamas stuff. You didn't come out during the massive budget problems. You didn't come out with the crime issues or BLM or any of that. You show up for a late-night talk show host who's terrible in the ratings? That's what you come out for? Okay. Now we know where your priorities are. You care about Jimmy Kimmel because you think it'll make you popular with Seattle's left. You probably saw the 5 or 6 people protesting in front of Como and goes, where are my people going? I need to follow them so I can lead them. That's what Maria Cantwell does. In fact, I'll send a request to her office during the next break to talk to her about this. But here's something interesting. And this feeds in. Mike actually had this theory a few days ago. Jimmy Kimmel saw a massive ratings boost on his first night back because everybody was tuning in to see what was he going to say. Now, according to all metrics, those 6.3 million viewers are a one-off, not a week off, not a month off, a one night off, because they already went down last night from where they were the night before. And they're going to continue to go down. Same thing happened with Colbert. Not as big, but you saw it start going down immediately. As I said from the beginning, if all the people who actually were mad about Jimmy Kimmel actually watched Jimmy Kimmel, you might never have had him canceled in the first place. But Mike had a theory that maybe this was all a stunt to get the ratings up for the show. And Mike, right now, it looks like Trump's off the hook. It looks like the feds are off the hook. But it looks like, was this a stunt? Or was this just a bad decision by Disney? Or a threat of a lawsuit by Kimmel? Whatever it was, it got them ratings for one night. And they are rapidly cratering back to earth. Now, the question is how rapidly they're going to crater. They were down. They weren't significantly down, but they were down. The question is, do they continue that or do they level off? He was at between 2 and 3 million a night. The question is, does he end up at 4 million because of this? Does he end up at 5 million because of this? Because then that's a win.
I think we'll find out early next week.
Yeah.
Because I think throughout the remainder of this week, there's still the curiosity factor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, give it a weekend with sports and other stuff going on, and it's, people going back to their regular routines. Currently, it's a novelty. Now, in the national news yesterday on KVI News, it was all about like the YouTube views. It was like, oh man, it's reached 11 million, 16 million, 19 million. And in my thing, I'm like, well, but it's a television show on television. Who cares about YouTube clicks?
Right.
So there's like this weird shell game going on here also of like, what is important, what's key, what's critical, what are they actually selling? And what is the stunt to be had? Because I don't know, Ari. I still hang on to that. I think there is something stunt adjacent here because Jimmy Kimmel at his core is kind of a shock jock. Always kind of was before we ran him out of Seattle. And that was the stuff he was doing on The Man Show with Adam Carolla back in the day. And even during both Trump administrations, he's like, I think he's been trying to push as far to the line as he can get. And I don't think what he said that particular night itself was as egregious as other folks think, but I think it was just the last straw. We had enough.
I agree. And here's something else. His first night back, I didn't find it that funny. I didn't find it that entertaining. I think a bunch of people are going to tune in and go, that's it? With all the material you just got, that's all you got? And that's why I don't think he's going to hold on to these ratings. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a quick call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
What's up is I just want to explain to all your listeners why we're having Week Without Driving this week. First, 25% of Washington State does not drive, and that includes me. Number two, Week Without Driving doesn't include delivery drivers, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, and, of course, transit operators. And number three, the whole point of it is really to express empathy with the 25% who cannot drive and maybe get some of these politicians who love going to transit board meetings to actually take the transit.
So I'll say, Joe, we're actually going to discuss that in our next segment, what this Week Without Driving is. But I'll say this, is that you just had to explain that, and you had to explain that to everybody on my social media account, because the people who are pushing this thing did such a terrible job of explaining it. And because they did such a terrible job of explaining it, they made it mock-worthy, they made it meme-worthy, And they didn't get the point across at all. And it took people like you to explain it to everybody. So I hope you're listening in the next segment so you can hear me explain this thing. Joe, appreciate the call as always. Appreciate you being so passionate about this. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, not only will we discuss this week with no driving pushed by King County, but also the Washington budget is completely spiraling thanks to the Democrats and Bob Ferguson, and yet they're blaming Trump. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 4:30 today, young Zach went out to get some audio of Katie Wilson saying she's not going to debate Bruce Harrell unless Como brings back Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. But before we get to any of that, Transit Joe called in the last segment. And actually, I was planning about talking about this anyway. I was talking about this policy, initiative, day of celebrating by the King County Council. They said, this was just a couple days ago, today the council proclaims September 30th through October 5th as a week without driving. Participate in the Week Without Driving Challenge to understand how our transportation system can meet the needs of people who are non-drivers while also benefiting our community and our environment. I have to say they totally blew the marketing on this one. Because when you call it a week without driving, immediately I say, well, then who's driving the buses you plan on taking for mass transit? Or better yet, who's going to deliver the groceries you get on Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever else it is, right? Who's going to drive the trucks that bring the groceries to the store? This is very, very stupidly named, but worse than that, here's the people they say are benefiting from this. Ready? Right here. Immigrants and refugees. Stop. You have a lady in a wheelchair in the picture. Clearly, this is supposed to be about people with disabilities. You guys have given driver's licenses to illegal aliens for years. You have motor voter laws, which register them to vote. We had a truck driver who, even though he couldn't speak English, somehow managed to get a commercial driver's license here in Washington, which he leveraged in California to get a higher level of that driver's license, who killed 3 people in Florida. You're not really making your case so well here, guys. Here's who else it says it's helping. Those with suspended licenses. Oh, we should feel bad for the people with suspended licenses. What'd they do to get those licenses suspended? What else do we have here? Visitors and travelers. If you can afford to visit Seattle, if you can afford to travel to Seattle, and you can afford those big cruise ships that one will be leaving out past our studio windows any minute now, you can afford a rental car. You can afford an Uber. You can afford to go places. I'm sorry I don't feel bad for any of those demographics. And by throwing in those demographics, what they did was dilute the point that Joe was trying to make. And this is one place where Transit Joe and I agree. We both agree you need mass transit. Except the problem for Joe is he thinks Sound Transit, well, actually now he's kind of coming around to our way of thinking. He used to think Sound Transit could do no wrong. Now he understands they can do wrong. He wants them to be better. I think they are irredeemable. That's the difference here. And we're throwing more good money after bad with this insanity. So it's not about people with disabilities. That is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes on their marketing for Week Without Driving. And here's something else, King County Council members. How'd all of you get to work today? You think any of these people took mass transit? Or you think in their designer clothing, they all likely were driven in or had a driver bring them in? The truth is, people like Joe who have disabilities who can't drive need mass transit. We disagree on what shape and form that mass transit would take. But the problem is, these people are the same people who are screwing up Sound Transit. These are the same people. People from the King County Council are dealing with Sound Transit on their board like Claudia Balducci. So if you want to blame somebody for the system being so screwed up, how about the very people who are doing the Week Without Driving? This is some of the worst marketing I have ever seen because they completely diluted their point. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Dan in Des Moines. Dan, what's going on?
Oh, hello there. Yes, I just want to make a comment on, I heard the president speak regarding the question given to him, and it just seems so inadequate is such an easy answer, and he should have had more force.
You have to tell me which question we're talking about here, sir. I don't know which clip you're talking about.
Okay, it was the one from the reason for the budget shutdown, and one of the reasons was they had the Democrats had in there because the Medicare or for the illegal aliens. Correct? Yeah. And why isn't it with more force, and why haven't we heard more about it? And who's the spokesman other than the president? Because he said it pretty weakly.
So I think that here's what happened. This is what, hang on, I'm going to find this clip right here. This is what his press secretary said earlier this week, and this is what they've been saying, but you calling in is illustrating the point that their message isn't getting through. Dan, stay on the line. You're going to hear what she said.
What I will share is that what this White House wants and what Republicans want, we want a clean funding extension to keep the government open. That's all we're advocating for, a simple, clean budget extension, a straightforward, responsible solution to keep the government open to November 21st and allow the full year appropriations process to move forward. And I will add, this is the same budget that the Democrats approved 6 months ago, just adjusted for inflation. And unfortunately, all of a sudden now, they want to shut down the government. And if the government is shut down, it's only going to, it will be the fault of the Democrats, and it will only hurt the most vulnerable in our country, our seniors, our veterans, our military families, and increasing security for members of Congress, which is something this White House and the administration supports. And if you look back at the statements made by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries in the past, they too have advocated against a shutdown and for keeping the government open. Democrat Chuck Schumer himself said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. He said once, avoiding a shutdown is very good news for the country, for our veterans, for parents and children, for farmers, and for small businesses. Hakeem Jeffries also said it's about the harm. Families will be hurt if there is a government shutdown. Farmers will be hurt. Holiday travel will be impacted. Democrats clearly know what the right thing to do is here. It's to join with Republicans to pass this clean funding extension. That's what the White House and the president wants.
So, Dan, you're 100% right. She didn't make the point the president made. And by the way, the president's right, and she should have made that point. But Republicans aren't driving home that point well enough, especially if you're calling and you're on our side and you're calling and saying they're not making that point well enough because you haven't heard it yet.
Yes, and that was a good response. I hadn't heard her say that. She's a very good spokesman, but it needs to be amplified. It's so easy. That's why I don't really contribute to the Republican Party, because I don't want it to go on any rhino. I want to know the name of the 9 rhinos that are not with us.
And not just that. Here's something else. But the media, the social media people over at the White House are so good at what they do. The fact that they haven't made this point yet is pretty bad. Dan. Yes. Good point. Good calling it out. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And something here, our side has not been good enough about calling out. I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal. This came out a couple days ago while I was offline for the holiday. But the Wall Street Journal is talking about how tech workers are getting laid off in Seattle and applying to become baristas. Now, this is something we on the Ari Hoffman show have been tracking for a very, very long time, because we said as soon as the Democrats put in their largest tax increase in Washington state history, you were going to start seeing companies get out of here through attrition, through layoffs. You notice you hear about Amazon layoffs, Microsoft layoffs, Boeing layoffs. You hear about all these company layoffs, but they're always here in Seattle because they don't want to pay those taxes. So what they're probably doing is saying, okay, we're going to move over here. Who wants to come with us? Or they're going to say, you know what? We're not even giving the option. We're just going to lay off people in Seattle. We're going to hire somewhere else. Or we're going to use AI to replace them. The Wall Street Journal had this story, and I still haven't seen it from anybody in our local media who is falling down on the job. Why is it always the layoffs are here in Seattle and nowhere else? Why is it always Seattle, Western Washington, the Seattle area, and nowhere else? Because these companies said, Democrats, if you sign these taxes into law, we will leave. And that is exactly what you are seeing. In fact, they may not even be able to get jobs as baristas anymore. Starbucks is restructuring its business plan and is closing hundreds of restaurants, including 2 right here in Seattle. One up on Capitol Hill, which I would argue the reason they're closing that one is they're tired of having their windows bashed in all the time at the roastery location. But they've been closing stores around here for ages, even profitable ones, because they're tired of the crime. But here's something else. When the economy ain't doing so well here in Washington, even though it's doing better in the rest of the country, you got to start making decisions. Is it worth paying $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 a cup of coffee? Or can I save that money because I need it for groceries and gas? Because as I was driving around this morning, gas prices are over $5 a gallon in the Seattle area. And people have to start making decisions. So thanks to the Climate Commitment Act and all the other taxes Democrats have put on Washingtonians, our economy is suffering. But what they're trying to do is blame it on Donald Trump. Now, just a couple days ago, the Washington State Economic and Revenue Forecast Council released its latest quarterly projections, showing state revenues falling sharply despite Governor Bob Ferguson's passage of $12.2 billion 4-year package of new taxes and fees, the largest tax increase in Washington state history. According to the forecast projected, near general fund revenue collections through 2029 are down about $903 million compared with June's outlook. That means close to $1 billion. Remember, they were talking about, there's going to be this $2 billion gap, a $4 billion gap, a $6 billion gap. Apparently, it could only be even numbers until they hit $16 billion. And we all said, cut the spending. Maybe don't spend the money on self-service stations where people can go to master debate, right? Where they can go there. Maybe you shouldn't spend on laser hair removal for trans inmates. Maybe you shouldn't spend it on hockey lessons for illegal aliens. Maybe you shouldn't spend it on health care for illegal aliens. Maybe you shouldn't spend it helping illegal aliens at all. Maybe you shouldn't spend it fighting with the Trump administration. This translates into a $421 million shortfall for the current 2025-2027 operating budget, which took effect on July 1st. So, they specifically flagged weaker construction activity as a major driver of lost revenue. You mean when Governor Bob Ferguson signed into law rent control, which all the developers said, if you do this, we are not going to build in Washington anymore because it will not be profitable for us. Good luck getting your X amount of units of affordable housing that you promised. So now you don't have the revenue from construction activity. Bunch of other places they're not getting the revenue from either, but they were warned about this. In fact, Republicans have been warning about this since 2019, and it's only getting worse. Now, you know who's asking for more money in all this to show you the waste? Nick Brown, Attorney General of Washington. He asked for his supplemental budget, which he's asking for millions of more dollars. This guy already has, 700, 800, 900 attorneys working in his office? All he does is sue the White House? All he does is sue the Trump administration? What does he want this money for? Let's go down the list, shall we? Federal administrative litigation. You mean more suing the White House? Great. Legal services and administrative staff. So you need more staff? These 700 to 900 people working for you isn't enough? Oh, you know what's part of this, by the way? Part of this is helping employers inform their employees of when ICE is coming for raids to their location. It's called an email. Maybe just send an email if you really want to do that, or a text. Maybe just do that. Or if you really need to print something up, you open Word and you say, ICE coming today. Go home. But you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on that? Okay. Immigrant Worker Protection Act. You know that's about illegal aliens, right? Foreclosure Compliance Program. Oh, you mean keeping people who aren't paying their rent in their homes? That's what we're talking about? OSPI litigation and legal services. Oh, you mean fighting the Trump administration to keep DEI, CRT, and radical curriculum in the schools. Do you see what he's asking for money for? all of this is a waste. And it's more millions of dollars. In fact, they also have a line item here where they want the money going to make sure they can help illegal aliens get pardons and commutations on their sentences, because in the last session they signed into law that illegal aliens get to jump to the front of the line. So now you're going to prioritize them. So you're going to spend more money making sure that these illegal alien criminals get pardons and commutations so ICE can't pick them up. That's where all your tax money is going. That's where all this tax money is going that they are asking for, that the Attorney General is asking for in his supplemental budget. How is any of this necessary? How does it help any of us? The answer is it doesn't. Now, what's kind of entertaining is the economy around here might get a little bump, a small bump, a tiny bump. Why? Because the Mariners are going to the postseason. And because the Mariners clinched the AL West division, that means there's going to be a whole lot more merch. That means there's going to be a whole lot more ticket sales, and they put all those taxes on tickets, so they might get a little bump for that. And all the stuff they sell in the stadium, there's going to be sales tax, and they put a bump in that, so they might see a little bump, like when the All-Star game came here, like when Taylor Swift came here. So they might get a little bump for all that, for all the merchandise that's getting sold. But at the end of the day, you have these major companies leaving. They are leaving town. They are not building. They are not doing construction. And as a result, your revenue forecasts are worse than they ever were before, because you have really hit the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve says comes a point when people are not willing to pay these taxes anymore, and we are there. That's where we are. And as a result, you don't have as much money coming in because people have said, we're just out of here. Just out. And people said, I can forgo my Starbucks. So Starbucks is closing up more shops, which means less jobs, because Starbucks is also saying we can't afford the crazy things you're making us pay for our employees. So they're closing up more shops. Well done, guys. Really well done. This is all because of Bob Ferguson and the Democrats. And yet, who's Bob Ferguson blaming? Oh, you're going to love this one. He posted on X. Unfortunately, we are also grappling with the impacts of President Trump's big betrayal bill, which includes billions in cuts to Washington State for programs such as Medicaid and food for hungry kids. None of those cuts have gone into effect yet, and the cuts to Medicaid were people who shouldn't have been on Medicaid and illegal aliens. None of the cuts have actually come to fruition yet, but Bob Ferguson is going, it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault, even though I just laid out every single way in which it was their fault. So even though Ferguson and the Democrats did this, they are going to say Trump's fault, Trump's fault, Trump's fault, Trump's fault, and watch for other states to follow their lead as well. They're going to blame their out-of-control spending on stupidity on the Trump administrative cuts, whereas if they actually had the money in reserves like they had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago because they had so much money coming in they didn't know what to do with it during the end of the tech boom, they could have paid for whatever they wanted, but instead they spent on stupidity. They also spent one-time funds from COVID on stupidity. This is their own faults, and they're trying to make you think the Trump administration is responsible for it, and they're not. And by the way, even if those cuts were going into effect, all you guys have to do is comply with federal law, but you refuse to do that, and that's why we're in the situation we're in. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including signature gatherers to repeal Democrats' insane policies are now being harassed by left-wing activists. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Don't forget, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. And what else, Mike? What else are we giving away today? You know what you're excited about. What else are we get? Where are you going tonight, Mike? Where are you going tonight?
I'm going to see The Who with my uncle.
That's why we're playing all the music,
Yeah,
right?
that's why we're playing.
That's why we're playing all the music.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm just talking about, why we're playing all the music.
Okay, that's good. It's good.
Okay, all right. Just bring it in there.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, yet another reason always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. While I was offline for the Jewish New Year, I came back and my phone had a ton of messages on it from my friends over at Let's Go Washington. And they were telling me how signature gatherers are being harassed. Now, they've reported multiple incidents of harassment, intimidation, and outright theft targeting signature gatherers in Vancouver, Tacoma, and Bonnie Lake. The actions, Let's Go Washington says, are not only a violation of Article 2, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution, but also direct assault on Washingtonians' First Amendment rights to petition their government. Earlier this month, Let's Go Washington launched two initiatives, one restoring parental rights and another aimed at protecting girls in sports and keeping boys out of girls' sports. The Parental Rights Initiative seeks to repeal HB 1296 passed by Democrats this year to scale back Initiative 2081, which lawmakers had previously adopted as the Parents' Bill of Rights, Parental Bill of Rights. Let's Go Washington founder Brian Haywood posted on X warning of intimidation, vandalism, violent threats, and theft. Tools that are now being used in Washington to block you from having a voice. Just 2 days into signature gathering for their latest initiatives, Haywood said, Let's Go Washington has already documented at least 3 escalating incidents. In Clark County, a store manager who had previously allowed other groups to solicit and support allegedly used shopping carts to blockade Let's Go Washington's petitioners and spent significant time actively discouraging shoppers from signing. Haywood raised the question of whether such no campaign activity had been reported to the Public Disclosure Commission as required by state law for political activities. In Tacoma, a man pretending to sign allegedly scrawled over several sheets of completed petitions, attempting to invalidate them when signature gatherers objected. An accomplice reportedly threatened her with a beating if she did not leave the Walmart property. And then there's what happened at Bonnie Lake. Now, this one got caught on video, where an individual came up to the signature gatherers, and there seems to be some discussion online about whether this is a man or a woman. I think it's a woman who's a smoker, is what I think. I don't think it's a man. But anyway, this was the discussion on social media. This is what this person said to the signature gatherers at that location.
Because let me tell you what that's really about. If you don't know, you inbred hillbilly bull. You know what that's really about? Boys like Marcus.
Hang on a second. Inbred hillbilly thing I can't say on the radio. You know what it makes you sound like when you say words like that strung together? It makes you sound like the very thing you're describing, which isn't a very nice thing. But this is the tolerance of the left. This is the compassionate left. All right, let's hear what else she had to say.
Who the only place he was accepted was at school. He found a little acceptance from his teachers. At home, he couldn't take another beating. But don't worry about it, because he killed himself at 19. He couldn't take another beating from the very people who were supposed to love and protect.
Hang on a second. If this was actually happening, and I don't believe this story at all, if this was actually happening, there are ways to deal with that. And also it shows that whatever they're doing in the schools isn't working. Because if it was working, you guys always claim it's to stop suicide. You guys always claim it's to keep kids safe from their parents or whatever else. Sounds like all the stuff you're pushing in the schools isn't actually doing any of that, and it's just pushing your radical ideology. Well, let's continue with this nonsense.
And there isn't a day goes by I don't think about that child. No relation to me, but I'm a priest, and that story was brought to me.
Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. You're a person of the cloth, you might say, and you use language like that? Look, I know a lot of people who are members of the cloth, and I don't mean superheroes. I mean priests, pastors, rabbis. I know a lot of people, and I have never met any of them that talk like that throw out language like that. I know a lot of religious folks. Never heard any of them talk like that before. So let's continue with your nonsense. So far, I'm not believing a single part of your story.
And people like you who spew hatred, against
This
others.
this
because of
protects
their
it. This does protect the,
genitalia?
this does protect
No,
kids.
that's what it's about.
It does protect
It's
kids.
because teachers and schools accept the child's pronouns as they are. That's what you're doing, is spreading hatred against children. How dare you in all of your magnificent white glory?
Lady, you're white. You're white. So, okay, let's go with that for a second.
You certainly know what it is to be oppressed and marginalized. Who would know better than you?
I do not agree with crimes against children at all, ever,
Really?
or
But
abuse
yet
against
you
children. I
are
don't.
out here spewing hatred towards a group of children who are already experiencing it every day of their lives. Can you imagine what it must be like to be the parent of a child who happens to be transgender and have to send them out in the world every day with people like you? I am so angry I'm shaking. How dare you? How is it your business what somebody has in their pants? What genitalia they were born with and who and what they choose to do with?
Well, apparently you're making it your business. This person is saying, we just want to know what the kids are doing in school, and you're trying to stop that? Wait a second. You just said you want the parents of the trans kids to know what's going on, but you don't want the parents of the... Do you even understand what these initiatives are about?
How is that your business? Are you a pervert?
You're harassing me.
Do you want... No.
You really are. You really are harassing me.
Please explain to me what makes it your business.
I mean, could you
How is
step
it
away
your
from my
job
table? Like,
to
I
spew
feel like you're
hatred?
harassing
No.
me.
I will stay as long as you do today. If you
We'll
have made it
see.
your mission to spew hatred towards children, then I have just as much right to explain to people that what we need in this society is acceptance and tolerance and unity and compassion. Oh, please do come. Don't miss your chance to be a bigot.
So now they're harassing people who want to come sign the petition. That was that last part there. She turns to somebody who was going to sign the petition, is harassing them. That is illegal. But you haven't heard anything from Steve Hobbs, Secretary of State of Washington. Haven't heard anything from the Democrats condemning any of this. So there's going to be a big push tonight to get Steve Hobbs to answer that. And I've got my own thing I want to do. You know what I think we should do? I think we should report all this to the Washington State Snitch Line. I think anytime a signature gatherer is harassed, I think that is a form of political intimidation. I think that is a hate crime. They don't like us because we're conservatives. They don't like us because we have traditional values. I think it should be reported to the Hate Crimes Hotline. Bob Ferguson set this thing up. He's asking for more money for the Hate Crimes Hotline, which really we know is to target conservatives. I say you report every single issue of hassling signature gatherers to the Hate Crimes Hotline. I think every single one should be documented, and then let's see what happens after that. When we come back, young Zach went to the presser of Katie Wilson and will join us with an exclusive report about how she's saying she's backing out of debating Bruce Harrell because of Jimmy Kimmel. Tell you all about it when we come back with the crazy audio. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Earlier today, Seattle Socialist Mayoral candidate Katie Wilson had a presser outside of Como Plaza. Luckily, it's pretty close by to where we are. It's our old stomping grounds. And young Zach from The Morning Show, which you can catch every single weekday from 6 to 9 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI, headed right on over there to catch the presser. And in the process, got some awesome audio. Zach, what'd you find out?
Yeah, it was real homecoming. You know, I walked over there and they said, hey, you don't work here anymore. I said, don't worry about it.
Did they say that to Jimmy Kimmel, too?
Well, that's actually kind of why we were assembled there.
I was going to say, speaking of, we moved out of there 2 years ago, and you seem to have spent a lot of time at Como Plaza.
Yeah, Mike and I went out there on, was that Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday, we walked over there and saw some sad old protesters.
Oh. They were real sad.
Real sad. The fattest dog I've ever seen.
Is that
also
when you guys?
sad.
Is that when you guys told me to go over there and do a lap of the place, but they were gone by then? Is that what it was?
They've been having a lot of protests where you do a lap by then and they're gone. That
I
seems
see.
to be the theme of their protest.
Yeah.
That was a different day. That was
Friday, maybe Monday. Maybe
I think it was
Friday.
last week.
Yeah.
I think it was last week on Friday.
Okay.
And then they had another protest on Wednesday that was lackluster and ended promptly at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
It was dinner time for them.
Yes, early bird special. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this was also a lackluster and sad event. A press conference for mayoral candidate Katie Wilson. There were no supporters. There was I think she had one or two staff members with her.
Why is Katie all alone? No friends, no friends. Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted you, Zach. Continue. Yes.
Oh, no, I liked that rendition quite a lot. But she gathers the press to announce to the press that she will not be speaking until the funny man returns to Como 4.
Wait a second.
It's all because of Kimmel.
Wait a second. So she is backing out of the mayoral debate on Como News.
Bingo.
Because of Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel probably pulls a real Thanos thing here and goes, I don't even know who you are. He probably appreciates the support. But come on. I mean, did she get pummeled in the debate that I missed the other night?
Yes.
So that's really why we're having this press conference. If you get pummeled by a guy who's been pummeled in the head too many times, then odds are you're probably going to lose again.
But until the former Seattle shock jock radio host makes a return to late night TV that no one watches, she won't debate Bruce Harrell. Not on Como's time.
Right. All right, so Zach, you're down there. I assume you're not alone. There's probably one or two other people. I think I saw one of the former Stranger writers was down there.
All the big
too.
TV stations were there. I think one or two other radio stations and some journalists allegedly from print outlets, I guess.
Do you find it entertaining that the other stations are saying Como News a lot in
Yeah,
their
it's pretty
broadcast?
funny. It was funny to see King and Cairo get the Como logo in the background.
Yeah, no doubt. Sidebar, Ari, are we secretly in a secret alliance with Hannah Krieg? Because it's like Ari Hoffman, Hannah Krieg, anti-Harrell.
This is right.
It doesn't make us pro-Wilson.
You got the two hands going together. No, Mike, I think actually what you found here is we both hate similar aspects of the story, but for different reasons.
Yes, violently different
Very
reasons.
different reasons. But so she's all like, see, she's not going because of Como's evil and Jimmy Kimmel and whatever. And I'm like, she's not going because Como's not airing Jimmy Kimmel. So it's coming from different perspectives, but it's united in the same thing, which is really weird.
Yes.
Zach, tell us what happened.
The enemy of my enemy is still my enemy, I guess.
Well, so not only does she make this big law, it was just very funny. She's gone through her thesaurus and is using very big words.
Listen to a couple Bad Religion records
to explain why she won't be debating Harrell, but then has to say, until they air Jimmy Kimmel, which was funny. But then she uses the platform to bring more attention to her media voucher program, which is akin to the democracy voucher. She said that, by the way, that like the democracy vouchers, we should do media vouchers so every Seattle resident can give some money to their media outlet of choice.
Also, voucher?
Very good. So let me make sure I got this right. The democracy voucher program, which is a failure, which actually has less people using it than it did when it first started, which all the numbers show it's a colossal failure and nobody knows where the money's going, which many people, if they had actually showed up to vote, could have shut this thing down if they had even known the vote was happening. Now she wants to give the media vouchers as well?
Yeah, but she said other countries have done it too.
How can we hold governments, corporations, and other powerful actors accountable without skilled journalists doing the painstaking work of digging into what is really going on behind the facade? How can voters make informed decisions in local elections? This is a big problem, a national problem, but right here in Seattle, we can help to forge a solution. Part of the answer is public funding. Until the middle of the last century, U.S. newspapers were heavily supported by postal subsidies. Many countries around the world, from Norway to Germany to Japan, publicly fund news media at substantial levels. Today, the U.S. is an outlier. As mayor, I will propose strengthening local journalism through a program modeled on Seattle's pioneering democracy voucher program.
Okay. She just said she wants our media to be like Germany's.
Jawohl. Yes.
Duh.
So we want the United States of America to be like Germany's media.
Only in the state-sponsored media realm, yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. So not only does she want to be like Germany in terms of whatever we're publishing, but she wants it to be paid for by the state.
Well, yeah, because the postal subsidies have gone away.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that's why journalism is failing. I'm sure that's what it is.
I thought it was because we did a poor job, but it was pretty funny just to see her go on this whole rant about we need more journalism, we need more speech, we need more democracy, but also, until Jimmy Kimmel comes back to Como 4, no democracy for you. There will be no debates.
Dear.
There will be no me talking to Bruce Harrell.
Oh, wow. Okay. Were there any other fun sound bites?
Yeah, I got one more audio clip of her just explaining what democracy is, really.
In these dark times, the problems can feel overwhelming. But we all also have the power to be part of the solutions. That can mean standing up and speaking out against federal overreach and censorship, as protesters have done right here in this spot several times in the past couple weeks. That can mean supporting independent local news outlets with your own dollars. And that can mean paying attention, getting informed, and participating in our local democracy. I am proud to be in a position today to play a small role in resisting the creep of authoritarianism in our country. And I hope that Sinclair Broadcast Group will decide to stand up and do their part too. Thank you.
I'm surprised that when she's talking about solutions right after the Germany thing, she wasn't talking about final solutions. Because I'll tell you, it's like with regard to this, she's talking about government authoritarianism. The government has nothing to do with this when you're talking about a private company that doesn't want to air garbage content anymore, that costs them a ton of money, that gets no ratings.
She also says, make sure to give your dollars to local news outlets. So I assume whether it be a newspaper subscription or if you're a small business, taking out ads on your local AM radio stations, particularly the conservative ones. But also, she goes in her speech earlier, she says, I'm suspending all ad dollars on Como for my campaign.
God love you. What am I talking about?
You cannot make this up. She said, go out and support local journalism, but also, from this point forward, I will not be spending any money on this here local news outlet, which she also says, I don't blame the journalists, I don't blame anybody in that building. It's the parent company's fault.
So we're going to blame the company.
Yeah.
Because of the parent company.
Because Trump.
Because Trump.
Because Kimmel.
Okay. I got you.
We're all up to speed. Easy.
Yeah, there you go. We've done it. We've done it, friends.
How could she lose?
Wow. As I said from the beginning, I think this race between Katie Wilson and Bruce Harrell is going to be tight. I think he's going to eke it out in the end. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, but I think it's going to be bloody, and I don't think he comes away from it looking that great. And I think that
He's
next
had a whole
time,
term, and he hasn't come away from that looking that great.
Exactly right. And I think what's going to happen is he's going to be more vulnerable afterwards, and they're going to run somebody even more radical next time who has a better chance of winning, who may do a better job of hiding it. Well, thank you, Zach. Do appreciate it. Don't forget you can catch Zach on the morning ride every single morning right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI from 6 to 9 a.m. Do appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and so much more. Yeah, another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Looks like a lot of you have a lot of thoughts on Katie Wilson's stupid press conference that she had outside Como Plaza. This one here from Mike over on the text line. Katie Wilson, that speech was an epic self-own. Congratulations. You played yourself, right?
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Exactly. He also says, what is she going to do next? Hold her breath until she turns blue? That's a good one also. I like that one. Mike's got the hot takes, right? Exactly. Over
yeah,
there.
Mike with the hot heat over here. Jeez.
It's also, you're afraid to debate Bruce Harrell. Let's be real. She figured, okay, I could pick up some points with the progressives. But also, she hasn't been doing well in the debates/forums against Bruce Harrell up until now. And when you're afraid to debate a guy who I think has brain damage from too many hits in the head from football, you know you're in trouble. And it seems like Bruce Harrell is gaining steam while she is losing steam. He's been on a fundraising roll. He's getting more attention. People are going, wait. If she actually wins, this is really, really, really bad news. And people are saying, nope. You know what? We just remembered why we voted for Bruce Harrell in the first place. He's a nothing burger. Hopefully he'll do nothing. And if he does nothing, that is better than anything Katie Wilson is going to do. In fact, thanks to one of our listeners who sent me this over on social media, tomorrow I'm going to have an exclusive story about the latest scandal Katie Wilson is involved in. Yes, this is one I don't think anybody has even noticed. When your enemy's making mistakes, don't interrupt them, right? We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Steve in Kent. Steve, what's going on?
Hey, I was taken by Katie's comment that the United States is an outlier, as if that's a bad thing. And the thing is, that's our strength. We've been an outlier since we created the only nation in the history of the world founded on the principle of the people are sovereign, not the government.
Yeah, it seems like she kind of wants to undo that First Amendment, doesn't it? She wants us to be more like Germany, if I heard her correct, with all the media and press, because that worked out real well, right?
Yeah, I've been hearing all my life, which has lasted a lot longer than it feels like. All my life, liberals saying we should be more like Europe, and where did they forget that our ancestors came here to get away from that dump?
Exactly. If we want to be more like Europe, we'd still be a colony of the British Empire and subjects of the king/queen/whoever's in charge right now. I remember some people burning King George in effigy and signing a whole bunch of documents that we didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. I seem to remember a revolution at some point. Appreciate the call, Steve. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, final hour free for all your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, plus breaking news on the Travis Decker case. We have the DNA. We'll tell you what it revealed when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. But before we get to any of that, got some back-to-back breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Just a little while ago, a press conference wrapped up in our area confirming that Travis Decker is dead. And according to Como News, the largest manhunt in Chelan County history, super dead, is over as DNA evidence confirms human remains found earlier this month do belong to the man accused of killing his 3 daughters. Now, as I understand it from Mike, there was a little bit of back and forth over the couple days where I wasn't here, where you had the U.S. Marshal Service saying he's dead before they had the DNA evidence. Now, Mike, I remember when I went offline for the Jewish New Year, they said they had evidence showing it was him, which probably means wallet, keys, dog tags, things of that nature, indicating it was him, but they didn't have the DNA evidence yet. So for all you know, you could have put that stuff on a body. It's like finding leg irons with no leg irons in it, with no legs in them, right? It's kind of like that.
Well, exactly. Well, and keeping in mind, this guy was a survivalist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he could have planted that stuff. He may have even left some blood samples or DNA or whatever, but also knowing that he knows what direction he was leading the search parties in also.
Yeah.
So he could have been playing hide and seek with folks for however long. But I would like to think now with this presser and finally this confirmation that the remains found are indeed him and the stories have lined up and that guy is super dead.
Super dead.
Either way, guy's cougar food.
Yeah.
Either by his own hand or maybe it was like a Jurassic Park situation. He's like in the woods and he looks over, there's a cougar there and it's like, oh, clever girl. And it's just, either way, that guy is dead. If there was anyone that had it coming, it was Travis Decker.
Absolutely. Now, what the sheriff said when they announced this was that Decker succumbed to his injuries, quote, whatever those were. Now, we don't know what those injuries were. Did he get shot by somebody like a hunter sees him and goes, I see him? Or was it, like you said,
mauled by a cougar? Real Kim Bauer situation there.
Exactly, right. We don't actually know what it was, but he was heading towards Leavenworth, it looked like. Now, my guess is, as a survivalist...
Well, Oktoberfest is coming.
Well, of course. Grab a beer while you're there. But you know what I think it was, Mike? If Oktoberfest is coming, you can blend in with the tourists and get out on a bus and just blend in with the crowds. Now, I think he would have been recognized, but that was his best chance at escape, to get out of there, to get on one of the buses coming for Oktoberfest or some other thing during the summer. I mean, I go to Leavenworth every year during the summer. I think this is the first time in like 10 years I haven't been to Leavenworth for the summer just because schedules didn't work out, but that's probably why he was where he was going. So they found the guy, they found the body. According to the DNA samples, it's him. We can close that chapter. Maybe
Super dead.
Exactly. Maybe give the mother a little bit of closure, but nothing will replace the 3 dead children. And once again, it keeps circling back to there were all these state agencies that were supposed to make sure something like this didn't happen. Are any of them going to be held responsible? This is a homeless guy who still had custody of his kids. How does that work? This is a guy who had mental health problems who still was able to see his kid. There's a lot of questions here that need to be answered. And I think that a lot of local agencies are hoping that people forget about this because they're hoping that people just go, okay, he's dead. Let's forget about everything that led to this. There needs to be a full investigation of how this guy was able to even have custody of those kids in the first place. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from the Grumpy Dragon in Puyallup. Grumpy Dragon, what's going on?
Well, remember Jimmy Kimmel used to have the program The Man Show?
Yeah, I actually liked The Man Show.
What was the best thing that you liked about The Man Show?
Well, all the things that all the things that I shouldn't say I liked about The Man Show. You get canceled for admitting that these days.
I love women.
But it was a funny show. I liked the combination of him and Corolla. I liked The Man Show.
The Man Show was good, but what a lot of guys tuned in for were the Juggies. If Jimmy Kimmel wants to get ratings again at ABC, bring back the juggies.
Yeah, something tells me Disney is not going to be very big on that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people right now are cheering, but I don't think that's actually going to fix it. Right. I don't think... Something tells me ABC isn't going to go for that. If you notice, Deadpool and Wolverine...
Well, I'm glad you don't, brother, because a lot of people do.
Deadpool and Wolverine looked very different from Deadpool 1, and I'll just leave it at that. They even got rid of most of the entire love story, for that matter. I don't think ABC's going to go for that, but I appreciate the suggestion anyway, Grumpy Dragon. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
So, Ari, I want to interject with, it's not often that I am wrong, but when I am, I like to clear the record as immediately and as expediently as possible. You had talked about, I think it was on either Friday or Monday, about the Jimmy Kimmel situation. And you said, oh, well, they could just put us on the air. And I ribbed you at the time saying, like, well, you already do a television program on the computer with the live stream and stuff. I realize now that I was short-sighted. We're going to take Grumpy Dragon's situation and your suggestion, and we just do tableside honka-honkas on the Jimmy Kimmel program. And we'll just call it Jimmy Kimmel Live with Big Mike and Ari Hoffman.
Yeah, didn't they have like Regis and Kathy Lee without Kathy Lee for a while? And then it was Regis, Wake Up with Regis or whatever it was. And then there was no Regis. And then it was just The Morning Show or whatever they call it now. Or just Good Morning or who knows what they call that morning show. But anyway, I agree. That's what we should do, Mike. Just do a new version of The Man Show.
We're just going to call it Big Mike Has Good Genes.
That'll definitely work out, 1,000%. Looks like a lot of reaction on the KVI text line over to finding Travis Decker. This one from James in Covington. Washington is pathetic. They found Travis Decker's remains 3/4 of a mile from his kids. It took them 4 months to find them. He was dead so long they can't tell how he died. Pathetic. Now, I'm saying I haven't read the entire report yet. This happened during commercial breaks. I'm going to check it out. Also, you're talking about a heavily wooded area. But we are kind of wondering what took so long to find this guy when it was so close by and the guy was injured on top of everything else. Does raise some questions about that as well. But before I forget, got some more breaking news happening right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted by a grand jury on 2 counts. Allegedly for making false statements within jurisdiction of the legislative branch and obstruction of congressional proceedings. Fox News reported originally in July that Comey was under criminal investigation by the FBI. The probe into Comey centered on whether he lied to Congress during his September 30th, 2020 testimony about his handling of the original Trump-Russia probe to the FBI, known inside the Bureau as the Operation Crossfire Hurricane. Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote on X, "No one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case." FBI Director Kash Patel took to X to say, "Today, your FBI took another step in its promise of full accountability." He said for too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging once proud institutions and severely eroding public trust. Every day, we continue the fight to earn that trust back. And under my leadership, this FBI will confront the problem head on. Nowhere was this politicization of law enforcement more blatant than during the Russiagate hoax, a disgraceful chapter in history we continue to investigate and expose. My neighbor still has a bumper sticker on their car that says, "From Russia with love," with a picture of Donald Trump on it. People bought into this. People believed it. But here's what I'm concerned about. Mike's been monitoring the media. And I assume that the spin from the mainstream media has been, see, he's weaponizing the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, right? I assume that's what they've been doing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
To which I say, so?
Right. At this point, so you guys that did the Russia thing are now pointing at us and saying you're weaponizing the Department of Justice.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Exactly. That's way better than the line I was going to use. But yes, exactly right. But here's the thing. We shouldn't put up for any corruption in politics. But yet it's become the norm. So people are going to go, so what? Who cares? He's out of office. That's always the case. You should go after Fauci and everybody else, but here's something else. Why did Joe Biden pardon everybody preemptively? It wasn't because he thought Donald Trump was going to go after them. It's because he knows what they did, or at least whoever was running the auto pen knows what he did. You know, just the other day, President Trump was out at the UN. And while he's out at the UN, his teleprompter broke. Can you imagine if Joe Biden's teleprompter broke? Joe Biden couldn't even read the teleprompter. Stop. Repeat the line. Remember all that? It's nice to know we have a president who actually is in control of his mental faculties. Him ripping into the UN was amazing, by the way.
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
He's 100% right. Do you know what the UN Charter says? The UN Charter, they were established to stop wars. So they were established in the aftermath of World War II to prevent anything like World War II ever happening again. Well, hasn't the UN just done a bang-up job with all that, haven't they? I mean, for example, here's something the UN could have done. I don't know, maybe made it so that we didn't have a problem in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Iran. How many countries? UN inspectors. The UN inspectors are going in to make sure they don't have nuclear weapons. Wow, you guys did a phenomenal job in Iran, didn't you now? UN inspectors are part of the bad intelligence for the Iraq war. How many wars have there been? Most recently, you're talking about Russia and Ukraine on October 7th. Wow, really well done. Half those countries are still buying oil from Russia. And if you're buying oil from Russia, you are funding that side of the war. Everybody in Europe who says, oh, here, I'm going to quote an old Robin Williams routine. What does Robin Williams do? Robin Williams says, he pretends to be a Frenchman, and he goes, oh, yes, you build Euro Disney. We won't go, but you build Euro Disney. Oh, the Germans are coming. Oh, Americans, we love America. Right? That's what we're looking at. So now you want America to help you for the very war you are enabling. You want to stop this war tomorrow? Every country should stop buying oil from Russia. That's it. Done. They are a gas station with a nuclear arsenal. Stop buying from them, and they won't be able to continue this war. But you guys all keep buying from them. Here's something else. Stop doing deals with China. Stop doing deals with China, and all of a sudden you won't have them working with Russia, because that's what they do. You know who else works with China and Russia? Iran. Do you see how all this is connected? The UN could stop this tomorrow, and it doesn't take a resolution. It doesn't take a vote. It doesn't take anything else. It just takes these countries having the resolve not to do business with China, Russia, or Iran. or North Korea. And all of a sudden, guess what? The world gets a whole lot better. It gets a lot better right away. But they don't even have the guts to do that. Now they're talking about recognizing a Palestinian state. So I've been in synagogue the last 2 days for the Jewish New Year. And on the Jewish New Year, we blow the shofar. That's the ram's horn. If you've seen Return of the Jedi, the thing the Ewoks are blowing, that's actually a shofar, a Jewish thing that we use at the end when they're celebrating that the empire has fallen. So we have to hear 100 blasts of the shofar. After each segment of blasts, we read a paragraph. And it says it's not just our new year. It's not just our day of judgment. Today, the whole world is judged. So, UK, Australia, Canada, all talking about recognizing a Palestinian state. You will be judged for that because you are emboldening Hamas by doing that kind of stuff. You are emboldening Iran by recognizing a Palestinian state. Oh, commit any terrorist attack you want, and we'll help you out. President Trump called out the Iranian stuff.
There is no more serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why, shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region.
By the way, Iran's there while this is going on. Iran's at the UN. In addition to that, where are all the Arab countries? Where are all the other Middle Eastern countries? The only one that's trying to stop Iran is Israel. If Saudi Arabia want to stop Iran, they'd be stopped. If the Emirates want to stop Iran, they'd be stopped. If anybody want to stop them, they'd be stopped. Instead, it's the U.S. and Israel because nobody else is doing the job. In fact, they're happy to benefit from doing business with some of these countries. The President of the United States also called out these countries for recognizing a Palestinian state, which is actually making things worse.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now.
You hear how awkward that applause line was, where people weren't sure if they should applaud or not? That should be immediately everybody raise to their feet and applaud. The problem is they're emboldening Hamas. President Trump had exactly right. The UN isn't solving problems. It's actually making them worse. And this was my favorite line of the speech.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them.
He should have announced right then and there we're cutting off all the funding for the UN because we literally are funding the very countries that want to see our downfall. Becky in Enumclaw says on the Warrior Injury Law text line, I watched the whole UN address, and he was fantastic, spot on. I was so proud of him. That is my president. We should not recognize the Palestinians as a state. That is ridiculous. This one here from Mike. UN also did a bang-up job in Rwanda. Oh, who could forget that? Exactly right. The UN is a disaster. That building would be better off as low-income housing, parking lot perhaps, maybe just a hole in the ground. A hole in the ground like the thing we've had in downtown Seattle would be better off than having the UN. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, a friend of ours was kicked off a college campus by a bunch of crazy activists. Tell me again how the left is the party of tolerance. We'll discuss. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Don't forget, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yet another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Paul in Tacoma. Paul, what's going on, man?
Hey, just wanted to let you know that I was working, or let's say I was participating in the convocation at UW this last weekend. And one of the things we were working with is PETA was doing a protest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of surprised. We're talking about how the hypocrisy of the left and the left facility as far as UW is. And did you know that I was informed that UW has a live research primate lab that they test medications?
Oh, yes. In fact, I get emails from PETA all the time about that. Personally, I prefer to call PETA People for Eating Tasty Animals, but I don't think they like that acronym.
Oh, I do too. I'm a hunter. But anyway, but the idea was I can't say it. I don't want to lose my job. I was participating in some issues out there, and I had to contact these people, and then I got a good report with them talking about it, and it was just I was shocked that there was a lab out there. I wasn't aware of it.
Oh, yeah. It's part of their medical research and such. Now, I don't know what results have come out of this lab, but I see PETA's emails on this topic, and they're pretty graphic. I don't know what they had at their booth, but I would assume that's pretty graphic too. But at the same time, I kind of have trouble accepting this from PETA because PETA itself is the one where, wasn't their director the one who was throwing the bodies of dead cats into dumpsters? And don't they kill animals they can't save? So I got a little problem with the source. I'm not saying they have a bad point. I'm not saying they have a good point. I just know them as far left activists. And I find it very funny when the far left fights with the far left, as I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I had a history with PETA back in the 80s. I worked for the Department of Energy as an anti-terror specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And did you know they were the only ones, all the Arabs and everything else really didn't have any means of attacking any of our research laboratories or nuclear plants. The only one that was in danger on the site was actually PETA.
Right, because they're actually here, and they were actually doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, Paul.
Back then in the 80s, yeah.
Exactly. Paul, appreciate the call, appreciate the information, appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Speaking of what's happening at universities, our friend Cam Higbee was out at Tennessee State University just the other day. I saw this video right after the Jewish holiday. And I saw all these lunatic students chasing Cam off campus. Well, now, according to the Post-Millennial, Tennessee State University has claimed its students were professional and respectful. When a group of people gathered to scream and repeatedly steal and destroy signs, Cam Higbee and David Kate were using at a tabling event on Tuesday at the college campus for their group Fearless Debates. One person in the left-wing group was seen armed with a screwdriver as security escorted Higbee and Kate off the college grounds. Footage from Higbee showed multiple people on the campus stealing the signs, which had conservative viewpoints, displayed such as DEI should be illegal, deport all illegals now, let's talk. The school said the tabling event from Higbee and Kate was not authorized. So because it's not authorized, people have the right for theft, right? That's what it is? The videos are insane, by the way. These people are nuts. Absolutely crazy. Tell me again about the tolerance. All Cam and Kate want to do is have conversations. That's all they want to do. And yet people are losing their minds. Tell me again that the violence is a right-wing problem. Tell me that again, please. Here's the statement from the university. Today, a group of individuals unaffiliated with Tennessee State University appeared on campus without prior notice. No. I'm sure you guys never had any other groups like that. In accordance with university policy, any demonstration or protest activity requires advanced approval and permitting. Did you guys allow the Black Lives Matter stuff on campus? Did you guys allow the Hamas stuff on campus? Campus police and staff responded promptly, and the individuals were escorted from university grounds without incident. Without incident! I've seen those videos. It's not without incident. At all times, TSU students conducted themselves in a professional and respectful manner. They're literally running up to them, stealing the signs, and going, Nana, nana, poo-poo, I got your signs. You kidding me? They're saying words I can't say on the radio, which is why I threw out the nana, nana, poo-poo. The safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff remain our highest priorities. TSU will continue to uphold university policies to ensure that the campus remains a safe, welcoming, and orderly environment for all members of our community. I would play the audio, but there's too much for Mike to bleep out in said audio. So it's such a welcoming environment. They cussed these guys out, stole their signs, and threatened to assault them with a screwdriver. Yes, very warm, very welcoming. The school shut off comments to the post. I thought you guys believe in free speech. Oh, but you shut down the comments to the post, as well as several others on the college's timeline, after Higbee released the footage showing when he was on campus, he was not treated professionally, nor respectfully, by a mob that gathered to chase him off the campus. Wow. Well done, guys. Really, well done, everybody. When we come back, before we get to our real good news segment, we got some actual good news. The Mariners have clinched a playoff spot, tops of the AL West for the first time in 24 years, and I'm here for it. I'm also going to bash my Mets at the same time. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show, and the Mariners are going to the playoffs. They clinched the top spot in the AL West off of 2 homers, number 59 and 60, blasted out by Cal Raleigh. That's right, the big dumper continues his absolutely amazing season. That man deserves MVP. And as I'm watching all this, it kind of has a specialness to it. Not just that they got there, but there's something else with it. Something else almost intangible. So I don't know if it's the trident, because they had that last season, but there's something else going on here where it just feels a little bit magical. And everything's working. You got a guy who's on track to beat all these records, who's been beating all these records. You got a team that out of nowhere is coming together, even with one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. It just seems really, really magical and really, really special. Our friend Matt Gilbert was making a little fun of me last night. He goes, Ari, you just don't understand how special this is for all of us. First time in 24 years. And I said, well, I've lived here for 22. So I kind of have a little idea of how special this is. Plus, I know what it means to fans of a team that doesn't usually have winning seasons. Plus, every year I make fun of the Mariners, where it's, well, these teams have to lose and these teams have to win. And then maybe if it works out, we'll actually make it to the playoffs. This is a really, really special thing. And I think Cal Raleigh actually summed it up really, really well with this quote he's been using the past couple nights.
Might as well go win the whole thing.
I love that one, by the way. I know he ripped it off from Major League, and I'm here for it.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do. What's that? Win the whole thing.
You know that scene? That's when they find out that you want to make a team bad enough so that they can move somewhere else. I wonder if that was the plan with the Mariners. Well, maybe it horribly backfired, but it's working out great. I mean, that wasn't just a one-off he did. This is what he kept saying in pretty much every single interview he's had.
I think most people heard what I said last night, might as well win the whole thing.
You can't say that on TV. You can't say that on the PA system at T-Mobile. But I'll tell you, for me, this actually came with really great timing. Once again, I was disillusioned by my Mets, but it wasn't because they suck and because they blew their season. It's because, once again, they got political. And I've really had it with them getting political. I thought,
go broke.
Exactly. I really thought new owners, we wouldn't have this mess anymore. So let's go back to when I almost gave up the Mets for good, which was back in 2020. The Mets and the Marlins had a game. It was during BLM. And what did they do? They put a BLM jersey down on the field, which... Okay, they're in the middle burning down the country. You put a BLM jersey down on the field, and then both teams walked off the field, refused to play. And I go, that's it. I am done with this team. Absolutely done. I've had it. Well, then they sold the team. New guy bought it, and I'm like, all right, I'll give you another chance. One more chance. Worst case of Stockholm Syndrome ever. You know the exact moment the Mets started to suck this year? I could trace it back to mid-June. They had a Pride Day at Citi Field. And as opposed to showing the American flag during the national anthem, they pivoted over and they're showing the pride flag. And I go, why? What are we doing here? What are we accomplishing? It's the national anthem. You want to show it later in the game, show it later in the game. But it wasn't all that. Just the other night, Gary Cohen, Mets versus Cubs. Gary Cohen, the announcer of the Mets who never gets political, said this when talking about Matt Shaw, who's a player for the Cubs, who went out to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral.
In a row, Matt Shaw leads off for the Cubs. He had a base hit his first time up. Shaw had Cubs World in a tizzy this weekend when he was not here for the Cubs game with the Reds. Game they lost 1-0, and in which his lack of presence was felt. It was later revealed that he had been given permission to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. And I don't want to talk about any of the politics of it, but the thought of leaving your team in the middle of a race for any reason other than a family emergency really strikes me as weird.
Okay, stop right there. I'm not even going to play the rest of his rambling nonsense, because do you remember when Sandy Koufax didn't pitch in the World Series? And everybody said because it was a Jewish holiday, and he goes, I'm not pitching in the World Series. And I was like, he sticks by his faith. This guy he had something to do with dies, or at least he feels a faith connection with this guy, goes to the funeral. It's one thing if it's not a funeral. Okay, you had to go to the Turning Point convention. Then I'd say, okay, that's a little weird.
I got tickets for M-Fest. I want to go see Joe Bob.
Right, exactly. Or I want to go to the Republican convention. Okay, you're in the middle of... You got a funeral you're going to, right? So I understand you're saying it's a playoff race or whatever it is. Leave the politics off the field. I have never heard Gary Cohen get political before, ever. Ever, 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 unless it's directly related to the politics of baseball. I'm just so tired of this stuff coming into sports. So because I'm so disillusioned with my Mets on many levels, not just because the Mariners are doing so well, number one, here's my one promise to my audience. I will lay off all the Mariners jokes, even if they lose or anything. I will not make a single Mariner joke the rest of the season. I am pulling for the Mariners. I really want them to do well because I know it means so much to all of you. And it makes my audience happy. This is a great thing that's happening right now, and I really hope they do really well. It has nothing to do with the fact that, well, if this team loses and this team wins and this, and then the Mets are in the playoffs. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So for right now, I want the Mariners to win because it's making my city happy. It's making my state happy. And we need a little bit of happiness around here because all the time we're reporting on all the bad news around here. Time to have a little good news. Congratulations to the Seattle Mariners. Well-deserved, well-fought. Congratulations to Cal Raleigh. This is really amazing. It's a great season. It's a magical season. Hope it continues all the way through so the Mariners can finally get to and win a World Series. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, got some good news headlines for you. And the first one comes straight out of Hollywood, my friends. That's right, Spaceballs is starting production on the movie. This was announced by Amazon MGM Studios, which actually put out a cast picture in the announcement. Now, what's funny about the cast picture, for those of you that are Star Wars fans, you will recognize that this is clearly a take on when they announced that the original cast of Star Wars was coming back for Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And you had a Harrison Ford and a Carrie Fisher and a Mark Hamill, along with all the new stars. Well, they did something similar, by the way. They've got Bill Pullman, Daphne Zuniga, Rick Moranis, and the guy who plays Colonel Sanders all sitting around in this picture. But there's also lots of Easter eggs. For example, I see a Spaceball helmet right there on the coffee table. I see a pizza in a chair. Does that mean another Pizza the Hut? Because he ate himself to death. So
Rocky 5,000. Yeah, he's lost some weight. I think this is an offspring of Pizza the Hut.
Or we hydrate this pizza and it becomes Pizza the Hut. Combine a little Back to the Future.
You sure can't
too.
hydrate a pizza.
Exactly. I don't know why there's a fly swatter in the corner. Is that to take out Jeff Goldblum's The Fly? We're a little late for a parody of that, if that's what's going on. I love all the people on social media discussing. Now, the box in the back with the drink container, like for Gatorade in the right corner, they had R2-D2 in that one in the original picture where R2-D2's sitting in a box. However, I thought the R2-D2 reference was the fire hydrant in the other corner. I'm confused by all of this. I don't know what it means. I think they just put random stuff there to mess with all of us. Or maybe they're plot points.
I think some of it is red herrings also, but it is funny because this is very much a visual daily double, and we should post this from our social accounts, Ari. But my uncle is hanging out here in the studio. Shout out to Uncle Chris. We're going to go see The Who after the show wraps up. But, like, we're sitting there, like, pointing and looking. It's like, what's that? What's this? What's this? So there's a lot of visual texture there that's a lot of fun to check out. Very cool homage.
I'm looking at some stuff here. People are pointing at the shoes. I don't remember the shoes having any significance whatsoever.
That's so funny because, yeah, my uncle just did the same thing. He's just like, he gives me like the Mr. Spock eyebrow, like, huh, what is that? I'm like, I don't know, dude, sorry.
Right. I'm looking in the back. I see something that looks like Predator hair. Now, if you had the Princess Leia hair thing back there with the headphones that Daphne Zuniga was wearing, I would understand that. I see the yogurt robe in the back. That's in the left-hand corner. But I think that they're just messing with us. It's Mel Brooks, right? They're just messing with us. We can all agree that's probably what most of this stuff is.
Who is there on Zoom on the coffee table, by the way, too.
Next to the Spaceball helmet. He's right there. Yes. So I'm really excited for Spaceballs. I'll read for you a little bit of the official press release today. Amazon MGM Studios announced that Rick Moranis, Ghostbusters, Little Shop of Horrors, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise, Josh Gad from Frozen, Beauty and the Beast, The Wedding Ringers. By the way, I'm putting money on him being the barf replacement. Whatever that is, because John Candy passed away. Keke Palmer, nope, one of those days, I don't know who that is. Louis Pullman, who, of course, is Bill Pullman's son. But it's funny the credits they give him. Thunderbolts, yes, he was the antagonist in the Thunderbolts. The Testament of Ann Lee. Dude was in Top Gun Maverick, but you wrote The Testament of Ann Lee?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. Anthony Carrigan, Barry and Superman, George Weiner, A Serious Man, A Million Little Things, Daphne Zuniga, Melrose Place, One Tree Hill, Bill Pullman, Independence Day, Lost Highway, The Sinner, are set to star in the studio's new Spaceballs film alongside previously announced star Mel Brooks. Moranis, Zuniga, Bill Pullman, Brooks, and Weiner will reprise their iconic roles in the long-awaited sequel to the 1987 MGM sci-fi parody that warped its way into cult comedy classic history. While Gad, Palmer, Lewis, Pullman, and Carrigan will take on brand new characters whose identities are being kept tightly under wraps, production is now underway on the follow-up, which will hyperspace into theaters in 2027. I've been this excited for a movie in a very, very long time. We will post that picture later on our socials, but before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980, features USDA prime steak and other specialties. including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union, with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life for 30-plus years from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, my friends, that's going to do it for us today. But fear not. We will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, and may the Schwartz be with you.